Kia ora, good evening. Tech giants like Facebook and Google could be forced to pay for news content after a months-long standoff inside government.
Media Minister Paul Goldsmith is pushing ahead with the Fair Digital News Bargaining Bill in an effort to throw a lifeline to financially struggling media companies. But as political editor Jenna Lynch explains, the coalition has splintered on the issue, with ACT triggering its agree to disagree clause.
The final days of the little newsroom that could. Staff at Newshub still pumping out the news as they pack up, readying to say goodbye. The demise of the institution.
It's the end of the news as we know it.
Along with cuts across other media businesses, spurred pressure on government to step in and take action. Now, finally,
G'day.
Enter Paul Goldsmith pushing ahead with the Fair News Digital Bargaining Bill, a framework for news companies to get tech companies to the negotiating table to start paying for local news content. The bill was first introduced by Labour but will be amended to include a minister in the process who will decide which tech companies will be subject to the law.
The primary point of the legislation is to act as a backstop in the hope that negotiations will happen, and it will only become relevant if there's an absence of that negotiation.
That was the last straw for ACT, which has invoked its agree to disagree clause. It's concerned ministerial involvement could undermine public trust in media.
It won't save media. It may make things worse.
So I'm not surprised, because they always talk about the market dictating. Well, the market is broke and the government has to support.
Australia and Canada have tried similar things. Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook, threatened to stop publishing news in those countries.
Well, I'm not going to speculate on that outcome. We'll wait and see how things evolve.
Meta told Newshub in a statement this bill ignores the realities of how our platforms work, their voluntary nature, the preferences of the people who use them, and the free value we provide news publishers. We will continue to be open and transparent with the government and publishers on our business decisions as this bill progresses. Sinead Boucher, publisher of Stuff, says she's concerned the ministerial delegation may be a way to exclude Meta from the process, and hopes the government will back New Zealand companies to get fair value from what she calls the biggest disinformation engine in the world.
It shows that they're willing to get into some kind of game of chicken with governments to see who's really in control and who can sort of exert the most influence.
The government's also decided that television advertising should be allowed on Sundays, which the minister estimates could add $6 million in ad revenue into the market. And is it you or is it me?
You're not in Guatemala now, Dr. Ropata.
It's all of us. Taxpayers could be funding Shorty. The screen production tax rebate, which has helped overseas productions like Lord of the Rings, will become available to local shows like Shortland Street.
I think it's an important institution. It would be great if it can continue.
A potential lifeline for our most famous fictional hospital.
Well, our political editor Jenna Lynch joins us now. Jenna, we've had 2 instances of coalition partners agreeing to disagree in recent days now. How significant is this?
David Seymour acknowledged that now that New Zealand First had ripped that band-aid off with agreeing to disagree over the COVID inquiry, we may see it used more frequently, though he did also note that these 2 instances pale in comparison to all of the instances of the government agreeing to agree with each other. The way that the ACT Party has done this is they are not going to be voting for this bill, so the government will need to rely on other parties to get it across the line. The Labour Party has indicated that they're broadly supportive, so it does have a pathway forward. It is somewhat ironic, though, that the ACT Party, which has been so vocal, such a vocal critic of the screen production grant in the past, is now on board with extending that to local producers and potentially even a soap opera, while disagreeing with a bill that aims to allow news producers to charge companies for content that they are taking, sometimes without consent. Essentially, that is a debate over property rights, so it seems ACT's traditional values are a little out of whack on this one.
OK, Jenna, thanks so much.